And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. It's been a while. Last time we were on, the Capitals had just won the Stanley Cup. We had Ted Starkey on, and now it is time to do the 2018-19 Western Conference previews, looking at what will be ahead of us now instead of behind us. Now, to my left, which is, I guess, to your right on the screen, I have the Facebook live stream up. That's my left. To my right, I have the Twitch feed. You can watch on either Twitch, you can watch on Facebook Live, either or. You have a way of watching. Hey, Dixon, remember, you're also an administrator on the Facebook page, so you got to make sure that you note who you are when posting on there, even though this one we kind of figured out because he said, "What's up, Michael?" Thanks, Dixon. Dixon, you better be ready behind the scenes like you always are, buddy. So with that, we're going to hop right into it. We actually got a slightly extended episode today because over the weekend I recorded a segment with our St. Louis Blues writer, Aryan Weisenfeld. And yet, we actually have a St. Louis Blues writer, we have a Montreal Canadiens writer. Russell Hartman, our good friend from Forever Blue Shirts, is going to be writing Rangers for us because we now have an official website, which is TXHThockey.com. Super exciting to have that. So again, it's TXHThockey.com. We're going to have a bunch of articles. You can read all these previews that we're doing for the Western Conference right now are up on our website right now, so you can actually also read what we wrote. Because obviously I'm going to skim through some stuff because of time constraints, and we got to make sure that this show runs on time. Except that this show is not going to run on time because that segment of Aryan is like 20-something minutes long. But it's worth it because it's a lot of fun with Aryan and I. Hey, Uncle Fran. Thanks for watching, Uncle. So with that, we are going to hop right into it with the Pacific Division, starting off with the Anaheim Ducks, who last season were 44, 25, and 13 with 101 points, and they were second place in the Pacific Division. Their key additions this past offseason was defenseman Andre Schuster, defenseman Luke Shen, forward Carter Rowney, forward Brian Gibbons, goalie Jared Carreau, and some of their key departures were JT Brown and defenseman Francois Beauchemin. Some of the top questions facing the Ducks going into this season is how will the Anaheim's offense fare this season? While youngsters Ricard Raquel and Andre Cass are now showing their full potential, one has to wonder about the veterans on the team. Corey Perry is not producing like he used to, and there is a very strong chance that Ryan Kesler may not play at all this season due to his chronic hip issues. One plus side is, when it comes to the veterans, is that Ryan Getzlaf is still performing very well, but one has to wonder when Father Time may start taking its toll on him. But right now, Ryan Getzlaf, he's still playing at a high level, but eventually, because him and Corey Perry came into the league at the same time, they have the same wear and tear on each other, just slightly different because of their different styles. And also, will the goaltending hold up for the Ducks? For the Ducks, they have the future in net with John Gibson, but can he stay healthy? Which he had issues with last season. Also, Ryan Miller, who is now 38 years old, coming off of off-season wrist surgery, which shouldn't affect anything for him going into training camp this week. One needs to wonder how many games he may get, especially with the free agent signing of Jared Carreau, and how much the brass would consider using him, much younger goaltender, over Ryan Miller. And then next up, you have the Arizona Coyotes, who last season were 29, 41, and 12 with 70 points, 8th in the Pacific. Key additions for them were forward Vinny Hinostroza, forward Michael Grabner, and forward Alex Galchenyuk. Key departures for them were Luke Shen, Max Domi, and Jordan Martunik. Top questions facing the Coyotes. Can the Coyotes build on their strong 2017-18 finish? Arizona ended last season with a 17-9-3 run, but that was after having their playoffs hopes dashed. Now, with a new season upon us and the pressure to make the playoffs back on them, it will be interesting to see how they respond to start this season. Another big question is how will Alex Galchenyuk fit in Arizona? After being traded for Max Domi during the offseason, Alex Galchenyuk will get a fresh opportunity with the Coyotes. But one has to wonder if head coach Rick Tocchet will give Galchenyuk a defined role as either a center or as a winger, unlike in Montreal, where he was constantly bounced around. If Tocchet and his staff can give Galchenyuk a defined role, his time in Arizona could be a successful one. What is going on here? What just happened? I think we just lost the Twitch stream. Oh, well, this was a great return to Facebook. Okay. All right, so I think we lost Twitch. So let me just do this. No, Twitch is still broadcasting. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. I heard something. Welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, Serious Hockey Talk for serious hockey fans, where things go into chaos. Wow, I'm a very ugly person. There we go. All right, well, something weird happened, but we're gonna keep on trucking. So next up, we have the Calgary Flames, who are 37, 35, and 10, and 80 with 84 points. They're fifth in the Pacific. Key additions for them with defenseman Noah Hannafin and forward James Neal, forward Alan Quinn, forward Elias Lindholm, and new head coach Bill Peters. Key departures were defenseman Dougie Hamilton, forward Troy Brouwer, defenseman Mark Bartkowski, and forward Michael Furlan. All right, well, Dixon, it looks like it's back. It's just, I guess, frame rates or something's acting weird. We'll see what happens when, because I'm also recording this, so we'll see what happens. You know, we've been demoing this stuff for a few weeks now, and now all of a sudden it wants to act goofy on us. Okay. So the top question is facing the Flames. How will Bill Peters reshape the Flames? Peters left the Carolina Hurricanes to replace Glenn Golitzson as the head coach, where he will have to turn the Flames around after missing the playoffs. It will take some time for the Flames to adjust, but Peters is a proven coach that will help the team return to the playoffs. You think there's CPF problems? And then next up, where will James Neal play in the lineup? Possibly the biggest signing for the Flames was the James Neal signing. Neal, who's played in the past two Stanley Cup Finals with Nashville and Vegas respectively, is a huge pickup for the Flames. But who will Bill Peters put him with? Do you put him on the first line with Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau, or do you put Neal on the second line to spread out some of the scoring? It'll be interesting to see how James Neal is utilized in Calgary. Hey, Jake. Dude, this Twitch stream is just like straight up glitching like crazy. It's hilarious. And then next up, you have the Edmonton Oilers, who last season were 36, 40, and 6 with 78 points in 6th place in the Pacific. Key additions were defenseman Jacob Jerabek, forward Tobias Ryder, and forward Kyle Brodziak. Key departures was defenseman Eric Gryba. Top questions facing the Oilers is, can the Oilers return to their 2017 form? After making an impressive run to the playoffs in 2017, last season the Oilers laid an egg. Key players like Milan Lucic and Cam Talbot did not play to their full potential and need to have huge turnarounds this season. Twitch is gone to hell. That's fun. Can Connor McDavid Also, will it return to the playoffs? McDavid is going to be looking for his third straight Art Ross, but he is going to want more, entering the first year of an 8-year, $100 million deal. McDavid is going to want to prove he is worth the long-term investment and lead the Oilers back to the playoffs. So, technical plagued episode of the Experience Hockey Talk. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, next up, you have the Los Angeles Kings, who last season were 45-29-8 with 98 points and 4th in the Pacific Division, which got them a wild card spot into the Western Conference. Key additions are forward Ilya Kovalchuk and goalie Peter Budaj. Key departures was defenseman Christian Folin, forward Tobias Ryder, and goalie Scott Wedgwood. Top questions facing the Kings is how will the Kings continue to improve this season? Last season under John Stevens, the Los Angeles Kings saw a resurgence from two key leaders in Anze Kopitar and Dustin Brown, and the midseason addition of Dion Phaneuf added more experience and grit to their defensive core. However, when it came to the playoffs, they only scored 3 goals in a 4-game sweep by Vegas. Only key addition was Ilya Kovalchuk, who is returning to the NHL after a 5-year absence. Kovalchuk will add some scoring punch, but it still doesn't solve their speed issue. And then also, will Jonathan Quick be a difference maker again for the Kings? Quick only played in 17 games in 2016-17 due to an injury, but when he returned in 2017-18, he was a force to be reckoned with in 64 games played. Quick ranked 9th in save percentage and 8th in goals against average while posting 33 wins and winning the Jennings Trophy. Plus, a key thing for Quick was that he kept the Kings in their first-round series against Vegas. For the Kings to be successful, Quick will need to repeat his 2017-18 success this season if the Kings hope to make it back to the playoffs again. Twitch is just dead in the water, so we're going to do this. We're going to kill the Twitch stream. We're going to restart the Twitch stream. Let's see what it does. Alright. Alright. Twitch should be back up and running. Yeah, well, I got it up on my thing, so don't worry about it, computer. Alright. So, to the Twitch people, welcome back to the stream. We are sorry for the inconvenience that you had. Facebook, I apologize for any lag issues you've been dealing with. But back onto the Pacific Division, the San Jose Sharks last season were 45-27-10 with 100 points, 3rd in the Pacific Division, and they lost in the second round to Vegas. Key additions was forward Antti Suomela, and key departures was defenseman Paul Martin, forward Eric Fehr, forward Michael Boddicker, forward Yannick Hansen, and forward Joel Ward. Top questions based on the Sharks. Can Joe Thornton stay healthy? Last season, Thornton was playing very well, scoring 13 goals, 23 assists for 36 points in 47 games before a knee injury ended his season in late January. At 39 years old, Thornton is looking to pick up where he left off last season, but can he stay healthy? He has shown that he can contribute at a high level, but Father Time is telling him that the wear and tear his body has taken is now taking its effect on him. If he can stay healthy for an entire season, that would be a huge plus for the San Jose Sharks. Also, how will Evander Kane fare in his first full season with the Sharks? It is known that Evander Kane has brought some baggage with him as he has worn out his welcome in both Winnipeg and Buffalo, but so far the match with Kane with the Sharks has been a good one. Kane produced 9 goals in 17 games during the regular season and had 4 goals in the playoffs. Plus, with Kane's more physical style, the Sharks hope that his style of play will rub off on his teammates in an effort to make them more of a complete team. And then next up, you have the Vancouver Canucks, who last season were 31-40-11 with 73 points. Key additions were forward Jay Beagle, forward Tim Schaller, and forward Antoine Roussel. Key departures was the Sedin twins Daniel and Henrik, and forward UC Jokinen. Top questions facing the Canucks is, can the Canucks stay healthy this season? Last season, the Canucks became riddled with injuries and to key players at the end of the season. With an anemic roster to begin with, the Canucks cannot allow to go through a season with so many injuries, especially the players like Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, Sven Baertschi, Chris Tanev, and Eric Branson, who make up the majority of the offense and the defense for this team. What will the identity of the Canucks now be? With future Hall of Famers Daniel and Henrik Sedin now retired, the Vancouver Canucks are faced with what is their most trying question of the day. Who are they? A big part of this question lies on general manager Jim Benning, who last season faced criticism for the Canucks' lack of direction as the team now transitions out of the Sedin era. Plus, head coach Travis Green will feel the pressure this season to guide the Canucks toward more meaningful games. And then next up, you have the Vegas Golden Knights, who were the Western Conference champions with a 51-24-7 record with 109 points, which was first in the Pacific, second in the West. Key additions was defenseman Nick Holden, and I think they're third in the division under Winnipeg. Key additions was defenseman Nick Holden, forward Paul Stastny, and forward Daniel Carr, and then as of yesterday, forward Max Pacioretty. Key departures is Lucas Visa, Jason Garrison, Clayton Stoner, James Neal, and David Perron. Top questions facing the Golden Knights is, can Vegas continue playing the way they did last season? Last season was record-breaking for any expansion franchise, period, which saw an entire team of misfits bond together and took the NHL by storm and set all time of new records and made an eventful run to the Stanley Cup Finals. But can they duplicate it this season? With the loss of veteran leaders James Neal and David Perron, the free agency and top defenseman Nate Schmidt suspended for the first 20 games of the regular season due to a failure of the wellness policy, which I will admit, a little questionable at best, will bring some challenges to the Golden Knights. And then also, can the Vegas Golden Knights overcome adversity? Last season, it can be said that Vegas had a lot of doubters, and as a result, used that doubt as motivation as they took part in the first season, as every game was an opportunity to silence the critics. This season, however, everyone knows what this team is capable of doing and will bring stronger challenges when they face the Golden Knights. When the Golden Knights also play with the same chip on their shoulder, will the Golden Knights also play with that same chip on their shoulder that they had last season, or will we see a more relaxed group knowing what they can accomplish when the spotlight is on them? It'll be very, very interesting to see how Vegas performs this season. Now, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break. In this quick break, when we come back, it will be the segment with Aryan and I. We'll be talking about the St. Louis Blues, and when we come back after that, we will be talking about the rest of the Central Division. So, Welcome back to the Experience Hockey Talk, Serious Hockey Talk for serious hockey fans. And joining me now is our St. Louis Blues writer. Yes, that's right. We actually have a St. Louis Blues writer amongst other team writers who you'll be getting introduced to throughout time. Or if you go to our website, TXHThockey.com, you'll find out about them a hell of a lot faster that way. Hey, Aryan.
Hello. Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
So, you wrote up a beautiful article on the preview of the St. Louis Blues.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. So, going into it last season, the St. Louis Blues were 44-32-6 with 94 points. They placed fifth place in the Central Division. So they missed the playoffs by 1 point. Colorado edged them by 1 point.
They did. It was a winner-take-all game at the end of the season versus Colorado. And not that the Blues were playing exceptionally well, but during the first period, Tarasenko went down with a separated shoulder. And after that, that game
it just kind of sucked the mojo out of the bench. You're losing your top player that way. Yeah. We actually, the Sharks recently had to deal with that with one of our players. We ended up getting routed.
Right, I saw
6-1.
Yeah, that was that was a worse injury than what Tarasenko got.
Yeah, actually, no, we did lose 7-1 that game. Yeah, so we understand the feeling, we understand the pain. So key additions going into this current season, you have Ryan O'Reilly, David Perron, Tyler Bozak, Pat Maroon, and goaltender Chad Johnson is in the backup role. Key departures were Patrick Berglund, Vladimir Sobotka, Carter Hutton, and Kyle Brodziak. Out of some of these guys that you've added and that have departed, which one do you think will be the biggest impact addition-wise and biggest impact departure-wise?
Ryan O'Reilly is going to be the biggest impact player. He has the ability to be a first-line center. If you slot him in with Tarasenko and Schwartz, that's going to be one of the most dominant lines in the West, I think. And even if you want to drop him down to the second line and play him with Fabry or either Perron or Steen or one of the younger guys, Kyrou, he has the ability to generate offense, take the pressure away from some of these guys, and let them just score. So he has a over 53%, I think near 60% face-off win percentage. So he's going to get a lot of... He can start in either zone. I think basically the Blues won the offseason. Flat out, they won the offseason. So I think every one of them, Ryan O'Reilly, Tyler Bozak, Perron, even Maroon are going to be impact players, but O'Reilly's the best of the group.
All right, and what about the departures? Which one do you think is going to have the biggest impact?
That's another reason why the Blues won the offseason. None of them. No, I'm kidding about that. Not so much Berglund and Sobotka. They're not gonna be missed. But Carter Hutton is going to be missed for a couple of reasons. One, he's a very good player. He led the league in save percentage last year. So you wouldn't expect it because he's not really a household name, but he was a very, very good goaltender. Even more important, that became when Jake Allen started to slump. So he's going to be missed not only for his play, but his support and his backup for Jake Allen. Because this year, if Jake Allen slumps or has a down period, there's nobody to bail them out now. So he's going to be missed. He was one of my favorites.
And here's the thing. I mentioned Chad Johnson as a key addition because, obviously you need to have a veteran guy as a backup nowadays. And Chad Johnson, as we've seen him do with Buffalo and the Islanders, he's been able to step in those times to actually, if the number one guy is not doing well, he's able to step in and kind of take over the role for a little bit, knowing that he's not a number one goaltender, but that he's able to at least, carry a team for a while until the number one goaltender can get their act back together.
I think Chad Johnson can be a serviceable backup. I think Carter Hutton came in and played elite level goaltending, so it'll be a little step down. And
we'll see how he does in Buffalo because he's going to be their new number one goaltender in Buffalo. One of the key questions that you had that everyone can read on our website is, how is Robbie Fabry's knee? Obviously, he had the first ACL tear on February 4th, 2017, and then he re-injured it in training camp prior
to this past season. So he hasn't played much hockey lately.
Nope, it's been about a year and a half, and you can tell that the Blues have really missed him. He not only was he a key contributor during the regular season when he played for us, especially against the Blackhawks 2 postseasons ago, he and Tarasenko kind of drove the team. So, like I wrote in the article, there's really not much research out there for people, hockey players especially, who have come back from ACL injuries, especially back-to-back ACL injuries.
And at his age.
Right.
Because he's a much younger player compared to some of the others who may have had it.
Right. So, traditionally, the few players that have come back have all fared worse, which would be expected. But again, Fabbri, I think, is only 21, 22. He's a very young guy, so I think that he can probably come back.
Born in 96.
96, all right, so 22.
So he's 22 years old.
Yeah, so he's a very young guy. I think he can come back. I think he's put in a lot of work, supposedly doing a lot of ballet on the side, according to a Post-Dispatch article I was reading. But,
hey, that stuff can work the legs, man. I mean, can't argue that.
Yeah, so I think that he's put in a lot of work. He really wants to be, like every NHL player, he really wants to be a great player. So I think as long as the Blues pace him and maybe try not to play him for 82 games during the year, I think he's going to be able to come back and contribute and have a long career. If they say, okay, go out, play 16, 17 minutes a game, play 82 games, I think that's going to be detrimental long term. So it's really up to the Blues to manage him, and if they do, I think he'll be good.
Yeah, and you'll definitely see what they plan on doing with him early on, at least in the preseason, because you're going to have those number of games where you can get your legs back underneath you, figuratively speaking in this case. One of the next questions you had, and we kind of touched base on this, you mentioned Carter Hutton being a key departure. He's probably going to have the biggest impact negatively on the team. You asked, can Jake Allen play consistently for a full season? He has not been able to do it since the trade of Brian Elliott to the Calgary Flames.
Right. So Jake Allen cannot have his annual slump. Even if you want to look at the whole picture last year, Jake Allen wasn't good. 906 save percentage, 2.75 goals against average. That's really not acceptable for a starting goalie on a team with cup aspirations.
Yeah.
Even if you want to look at more of the advanced metrics that they have on Hockey Reference, he had a quality start percentage of .482, where less than 50% is defined as bad. Not even mediocre, but bad. He had goals against allowed average of minus 10.34, which also is just not going to cut it. And more so, he cannot go through the same slump that he went through before. From 12.29 through 2.7, these are his save percentages for those games. 893, 868, 783. He kind of rebounded for 2 games with 938 and 956. Then 750, 909, 864, 875, 826, 897, 625. Then he gets a week off and he kind of rights the ship. But again, he can take those weeks off. He could take those weeks off last year because Carter Hutton.
And just to throw this out there, last season, Carter Hutton played 32 games, was 17, 7, and 3. He had 3 shutouts. He let up 56 goals against on 810 shots for a save percentage of .931. And he took a penalty. He's a thug. And then Jake Allen had 59 games played in, where he had a 27, 25, and 3 record with 1 shutout, gave up 152 goals on 1,614 shots with a .906 save percentage. Goals against average was a 2.75 for Jake Allen and a 2.09 for Carter Hutton.
Right. And so there were a lot of reasons why the Blues didn't make the playoffs last year, and you can't only look at Jake Allen, but you cannot have those types of numbers unless you are playing on an absolutely stacked team. If this were the 2009-2010 Blackhawks, do what you want, Jake Allen. But this is not that team.
The Stanley Cup final with the worst goaltending ever. Michael Layden versus Antini Niemi.
Yeah. So,
and it could have been even worse, too.
So Allen can't have those types of slumps. If you go through 2 months of a slump, that's the difference between making the playoffs and missing it.
Yeah.
I think when he's on, he is better than most other goalies when they are on. So if we can get to the playoffs with him, I don't really have a problem. I would feel pretty confident with him because he's stolen series before, especially against the Wild a couple years ago. But if he doesn't play consistently, at least okay, we're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and one comparable that you can actually use is Braden Holtby to Jake Allen, because obviously last season was not a good season overall for Braden Holtby.
Right.
But luckily for the Caps, they had Philip Grubauer as the backup goalie, and he was able to play a lot of games. Sure, he got the first 2 games in the playoffs, but once Holtby came back in, you could tell that rest was able to have him steer the ship the right way and get the Stanley Cup. Obviously, going back to Carter Hutton, you don't have Hutton now to kind of take that pressure off of him. You have Chad Johnson, who's more of a veteran guy, more of a journeyman. So it'll be interesting to see how that could play out, going into the next season. I know you're just like, shut up, Mike. I already know the problems with my goaltender.
Well, we'll just cross our fingers with him. I mean, I like Jake Allen. I like him, and I hope that he does well, but, he's got to show it.
Yeah. Then next up, you have, can the Blues have an effective power play?
This remains to be seen. So last year...
We'll give you Blaine Forsythe. There you go.
Last year, their power play was second to last with a 15.45% effective efficiency rate. That's really unacceptable for the types of players they have on the team. Tarasenko, Schwartz, Shen, Parayko, Pietrangelo, the list goes on. They have offensively minded, very, very capable players. And this is also down from 22% the year before. So it kind of leads me to think that Mike Yeo doesn't really know how to coach a power play. So I went back and I looked at his 4 full seasons in Minnesota. 15.12, 17.88, 17.86, 15.85 percentage. Not one of these seasons was over league average. He leaves, Bruce Boudreau comes in, 21% immediately. 2 percentage points above league average. Then you look at their goals. Blues were 24th. You look at Yeo in Minnesota with a very good team, 30, 24, 23, 14th in rank. Boudreau comes in and they go to second. At some point, and now the Blues with Riley and Bozak, they don't have to put Berglund or Sobotka in, or those types of players on the power play. So you really have to look at Yeo, and they really have to evaluate, I would say by mid-season, or at worst at the end of the season, whether their power play has meaningfully gotten better, and if not, they need to look directly at the coach. They can't look at the players here. They have to look directly at the coach.
Because it's his system at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I know, a time-honored tradition of Blues fans, and I'm going to jump right into it, is always blame the coach for everything, always want to get another coach. But the way I see it also, they're not going to fix that mess in Chicago this year, and they're going to be looking to make a change. And if Quenneville comes on the market and Yeo can't fix this, they need to be quick.
We'll see, the thing with Quenneville, and it's actually good that you brought that up, because obviously we talked about Chicago a little bit earlier before you came on. But the thing is that with Quenneville, is that it's not his problem.
No,
it's not. With why the Blackhawks are doing bad. The problem with the Blackhawks is the fact that they've capped themselves out.
Yeah, Jonathan Toews is the problem with them.
Because
of his contract.
It's not just Toews.
Yes.
You have Toews under a monster contract. You have Duncan Keefe under a monster contract. Brent Seabrook is under a monster contract. Patrick Kane's under a monster contract. Corey Crawford is under a monster contract.
Kane is at least worth it.
Yeah. And then you had Marian Hossa, which how they got to circumvent the salary cap on trading him after he openly said he's retired. That is something they need to fix in the CBA, because if a player retires and he's over 35, you have to take the recapture penalty. You're the one who signed him. He said he retired. He has like 3 years left on the contract. Mm-hmm. And then Arizona, on the other hand, should be getting penalized for the fact that they don't want to spend up to the cap.
Yes. Yep.
So at the same time, it's on both sides of the coin. Mm-hmm. But I don't see the problem as Quenneville. Ownership doesn't see the problem being Quenneville. It's really going to come down to, Stan, you did a great job, but you screwed us over with these contracts, and now we can't unload these contracts.
I feel Talon did a great job with them, and Bowman kind of put them in the situation that they're in now.
Well, see, the thing is that, well, even if Talon was still there, he still would have been stuck with the same situation.
Yeah, I guess because you got to pay Taves.
Yeah, because you got to pay Taves, you got to pay Kane, you got to pay Crawford, you got to pay Seabrook and Keefe, you got to pay these guys. You know, at the end of the day, you still had to pay them. Edmonton's going to come into this problem.
Yeah.
Because McDavid's massive contract just kicked in. Draisaitl's in the second year of his deal. Toronto is going to be really feeling the effects of it in the near future when they have to re-sign Matthews and Nylander and Marner and all those other young kids that they got. So it's just the belly of the beast. I mean, luckily for the Capitals, you know, if you look at it right now, it's like they won their cup last season. They were able to keep everyone together under the cap with the exception of two people, which is Beagle and Grubauer. And then, you know, at the end of the 2020 season, I mean, after this upcoming season, you're going to lose some guys. It's just going to happen because of the cap. And then the very next season after that, Nicholas Backstrom and Braden Holtby are free agents.
Yeah.
Which I see them re-signing, but it'll be a matter of how much money they're going to want to sign for. But for a guy like Backstrom, he isn't going to be signing for a long-term deal because he isn't going to need a long-term deal. He'd probably only want 3 years. And then the year after that is Alex Ovechkin's contract.
Yeah.
And same deal with him. He'll re-sign, but he'll probably sign for like a 3-year deal because he doesn't need a massive deal because they're going to be coming off of 10 and 13-year contracts respectively.
Right. And I don't think they want to go anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll probably be willing to spend the 3-year deals for that type of thing. Yeah. But fortunately for the Cats, when those contracts were signed, Ovechkin signed a 13-year contract as soon as his entry-level deal was about to come up. Backstrom signed a 10-year deal as soon as his entry-level contract was about to be up. So for those two guys, they got the majority out of them in their prime.
Yeah.
Whereas with Chicago, I mean, you got to look at where they are in those contracts, but they might have gotten the most out of those contracts in the first half of those contracts and not getting it in the later half of those contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kane is going to hold his value throughout the contract. I think Taves kind of fell off a cliff even before that, or like right when that contract started. So that was more of a, you know, thank you for winning us 3 cups.
Yeah.
You know, here you go. We don't really care what happens.
You're
now.
set for life now. Yeah. But for Taves though, you could tell that he still competes at a high level. It's just the numbers aren't there.
Yeah, he had a high Corsi in Fenwick, so I mean he's definitely contributing. But if you're going to be a top line center, you do need to produce more offensively.
Oh yeah, and that'll be the thing. The Blackhawks, their window is closed. They're rebuilding.
Yep.
Which good luck with those massive contracts and trying to bring in names. But yeah, and then going back to last question that you put here is, how will the young players fare?
I think their new guys can do pretty well. So there are 2 players to watch, Rob Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. I'm definitely not the first one to say this for Rob Thomas. Anybody who follows the Blues knows that, you know, hundreds of people have said Rob Thomas is going to be the next big thing. I don't think he's ever going to develop into, you know, some superstar first line center, but he can be very balanced offensively and defensively, and he can be at least in the mold of what Jonathan Toews was, but probably never as good. But hey, if he can be even close to what Toews was in his prime, then he can slot in at, you know, first or second line center for the next decade. I think that this season, because the Blues are so deep at center with O'Reilly, Bozak, Shen, and now Thomas, that Thomas can really sort of fade into a third or fourth line role in the beginning, play limited minutes, and really get his feet wet.
Yeah, and according to this depth chart here, which, by the way, thanks Hockey News for finally getting us the yearbook that we've been waiting for like 2 weeks for. Needed it a week ago. They have Braden Shen number 1, Ryan O'Reilly number 2, Tyler Bozak number 3, Robert Thomas number 4, and Oscar Sundqvist number 5. For some reason, they have Zach Sanford listed as a left winger, but he's actually really a center.
He is.
So, and he was the one that you got from the Caps in the Shattenkirk trade.
Yeah, and I think we traded him for the purpose of him being a center, but at this point he's...
Yeah, and Oscar Sundqvist was actually part of the Ryan Reeves trades with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. but I think he was an ancillary piece. We traded Reeves so we could draft Klim Kostin.
Yeah.
Kostin, I don't know if he'll be up this year, but Kostin will be a very, very good player too.
It says here he should be ready NHL season 1920.
Yeah.
So you have about another season before he may be ready, but you may see him up this season from time to time.
Yeah. So the other young guy that'll probably make his debut this year, he played a little last year, but have a more permanent role, is Jordan Kyrou. Kyrou, I think, is also listed as a center, but he could be center or right wing, and I think he'll definitely only be able to play wing at the NHL level.
Kyrou they have as a right winger.
Okay. With him, a lot of Blues fans know him because in the minors or in the OHL, he's put up a lot of dazzling highlight reel goals. And he was,
good luck doing that in the NHL.
Right, and a lot of those goals were basically cutting and deking people straight up the middle. I question whether he's going to be able to do that against bigger and faster competition. That said,
unless your name is Sidney Crosby, where you just bat the puck out of midair
Right.
and stuff like that, you ain't
right.
You ain't gonna do it.
Right. So he was the OHL's Player of the Year, so that's definitely promising. But I'm more sold on Rob Thomas than I am on Jordan Kyrou. But I think that within the system, if we have a lot of other good players, and Kyrou isn't really drawing the opponent's best defensive players, he can meaningfully contribute.
All right. So with that, where can the people follow you on Twitter so when you write an article they can complain to you?
My Twitter handle is AEW328, although I think I might have just changed it. So I'll list it on the article.
Listed on the article, listed in your bio.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, create your bio.
Oh, yes. I thought I did that.
I don't know.
No,
I gotta look.
Yeah. If I haven't, I'll do it.
The things of having a website now,
Yeah.
or new feature. But thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
I miss having you as a teammate on hockey.
Yes.
Our line was pretty good together, especially
was,
when we
yes.
weren't scoring goals. When we weren't scoring goals.
Right.
Greatest conversation ever. Hey, it's been a while since we scored. Yeah, I know. We haven't scored at all this season. And then, the next game, I had 4 goals against that really bad goaltender.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you started scoring too. It was but all my goals were that one game, and then I didn't do anything else for the rest of the season. But you just heated up at the right time, so I see how it is. So, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back from the break with more Western Conference preview.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. I'm live. I'm back live. Hey, how about that? I do apologize for the beginning part having issues. Apparently, when I loaded it up previously, when I restarted the program, it did not want to acknowledge the source of where the video was coming from. So I had to re-enter the thing while we were still live, because there's no such thing as pausing a live stream. So, but yeah, and I also was looking at stuff off air. It looks like things on Facebook, things on Twitch are running a little bit smoother now. We don't know why it happened, but we'll work on that when we come back next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Now, again, thank you to Aryan for coming on the show, talking about the St. Louis Blues. We had some fun doing that. And then actually, just so you know, you can follow Aryan on Twitter at AWEISEN123. That's how you can follow Aryan on Twitter. And of course, you can read his articles on TXHThockey.com. And then, of course, going on to the Central Division, you heard us talking about this team a little bit, which was the Chicago Blackhawks. Last season, they're 33, 39, and 10 with 76 points, and they're last in the Central Division. Key additions for them are defenseman Brandon Manning, forward Chris Kunitz, and goalie Cam Ward. Key departures are Adam Clendenning, Marian Hossa, Patrick Sharp, Vinny Hennestroza, and Anthony Duclair. All right, and then top questions facing the Blackhawks is, how is Corey Crawford's health going to be going into this season? Crawford missed the second half of last season with a career-threatening concussion-like symptoms, and questions are still in the air in regards to his health going into this season. The Blackhawks did sign Cam Ward as a backup plan in case, but he is near the tail end of his career. Crawford is a difference maker when healthy, and Chicago could be in trouble if he isn't 100% healthy and ready to go. Also, could true change be coming to the Blackhawks? Last season, the Blackhawks missed the playoffs for the first time since 2007-2008 and are now in need of doing a rebuild before they can make the playoffs again. However, what happens if they start poorly? Does Joe Quenneville get the axe, or does Stan Bowman, or does both of them? It will be interesting to see how the Blackhawks start this season, as it will dictate what can happen moving forward. And obviously, as Aryan and I discussed, we both mutually feel that the onus is more on Stan Bowman, and it would actually honestly make more sense to fire Stan Bowman, because Joe Quenneville, you never hear a report that he's lost the locker room or he's lost the bench. It's more about the guy who built the team, not the guy who's coaching the team. Next up, we have the Colorado Avalanche, who are 43-30-9 with 95 points, and they're fourth in the Central Division, earning the other wild card spot. As you heard Aryan and I talk about, Colorado beat St. Louis to get that spot to make the playoffs. Key additions for them are defenseman Ian Cole, forward Matt Calvert, and goalie Philip Grubauer. And their key departures are forward Blake Kemo, forward Nail Yakupov, goalie Andrew Hammond, and goalie Jonathan Bernier. Top questions facing the Avalanche is, who will be the number one goaltender for the Avalanche? With Semyon Varlamov in the last year of his contract and a history of injuries, GM Joe Sakic picked up Philip Grubauer from the Washington Capitals, who is primed to be a number one goalie in the NHL. With Grubauer chomping at the bit to be the man, Varlamov will need to remain healthy and bring his A game to remain the top guy in goal. Also, can the Avalanche make the playoffs again? Last season, the Avalanche made one of the best turnarounds, and with a new goalie in tow and some offensive and defensive additions, the Avalanche can really build what they accomplished last season. Then next up, you have the Dallas Stars, who last season were 42-32-8 with 92 points and were 6th in the Central Division. Yes, 92 points and 6th place in the Central Division. That is how deep and dangerous the Central Division is now. We always talk about how the Metropolitan Division the last few years has been the most dangerous division. It's now the Central Division, ladies and gentlemen. Key additions to them is defenseman Roman Polak, forward Eric Condra, forward Blake Camo, and goalie Anton Khudobin. Key departures for them is defenseman Dan Hamhuis, defenseman Greg Patron, and forward Antoine Roussel. Top questions facing the Stars is, how will the Stars develop? Dallas hired Jim Montgomery from the University of Denver to help with the development of other young talent, but how will Montgomery do with the veteran guys as well? How Montgomery is received can dictate how successful the Stars are this season, and judging by stuff that we've heard from the likes of John Klingberg, it's that so far so good in how he's being received. Also, does Tyler Seguin remain a Dallas Star? Seguin is in the last year of his contract, and depending on how this season goes, he may choose not to remain with the team either via trade or free agency. One has to wonder if this will be a distraction like how it was for the New York Islanders of John Tavares, and currently with the Ottawa Senators and Erik Karlsson. We do know that there has been talk that came out today that Seguin and the Stars are in fact talking, and they're trying to work out a new deal, but it sounds like they're still a little bit far away in that regard. Next up, you have the Minnesota Wild. Last season, they're 45-26-11 with 101 points, third in the Central Division, and lost in the first round. Key additions for them were defenseman Greg Patron, defenseman Mark Bartkowski, forward Matt Reed, forward Eric Fair, forward JT Brown, forward Matt Hendricks, goalie Andrew Hammond, and general manager Paul Fenton. Key departures was defenseman Kyle Quincy, forward Tyler Ennis, Daniel Winnick, Matt Cullen, and general manager Chuck Fletcher. Top questions facing the Wild: will Ryan Suter be healthy going into this season? Late last season, Suter broke his talus, an ankle bone that usually fractures from high trauma events, and his status going into the season is very much up in the air at this time. If Suter cannot go right away, then the Minnesota Wild will need to rely on their defensive depth to step up in his absence. Jared Spurgeon is a very underrated defenseman. He can be a very solid replacement for Suter. Plus, Matt Dumba has made great strides defensively for the Wild. Plus, the additions of Greg Petrin and Matt Barkowski bring some needed depth to the Wild's defensive core. Is Bruce Boudreau on the hot seat this season? Something that you heard Aryan and I talk about when it came to Boudreau. He does bring in a lot of offense. But during the offseason, Wild owner Craig Leopold made it clear that this franchise doesn't need a rebuild, but that of a tweaking when firing Cliff Fletcher as general manager and naming Paul Fenton the new GM. Bruce Boudreau survived, but for how long? After leading the Wild to back-to-back 100-point seasons, they failed to go deep into the playoffs, which has been the norm for Bruce Boudreau. If the Wild falter out of the gates or have yet another abysmal postseason, we may see Bruce Boudreau looking for a new job in the league in the future. And then next up, we have the Nashville Predators, who are the President's Trophy winners and the top team in the NHL Western Conference and in the Central Division with a 53-18-11 record with 117 points. They actually lost in the second round to the Winnipeg Jets. Key additions is defenseman Dan Hamhuis and forward Connor Brickley. Key departures is defenseman Alexei Yemelin, forward Mike Fisher, and forward Scott Hartnell. Top questions facing the Predators: no change, good or bad? During exit interviews, the team stated that they wanted to stick together and give it one more try, which was easy to accomplish for general manager David Poile now in his 20th season with the franchise, as 19 players were already under contract for the season, and 3 were restricted and were automatically qualified. However, recent history has shown that the 3 teams, Vancouver in 2011, Boston in 2013, and the New York Rangers in 2014, to reach the Stanley Cup Finals, then win the President's Trophy the following season, don't make it close to the Stanley Cup the following seasons. Can Nashville break this trend? Also, can they fix their defensive woes that were exposed in the playoffs? During their second-round matchup against the Winnipeg Jets, their defense was exposed by Winnipeg's heavy forecheck, which caused them to cough up many turnovers. While Nashville's defense contributes a lot of offense for this team, this will be a key area that will need to be focused on fixing. One key thing that will help is the fact that all their defensive pairings are going to be back together for a third straight season. Normally right here we'd be doing St. Louis Blues, but we just did like 20 minutes on those guys. So we're going to go right to the Winnipeg Jets. And last season they're 52, 20, and 100. No, and 52, 20, and 12. They're 104 points. So they're actually third place in the conference. Second in the Central Division, lost in the Western Conference Finals to the Vegas Golden Knights. Their key addition was goalie Laurent Brosseau, and their key departures was defenseman Toby Enstrom, forward Paul Stastny, forward Joel Armia, forward Matt Hendricks, forward Sean Matthias, and goalie Mike Hutchinson. Top questions facing the Jets: can the Winnipeg Jets rise to the occasion? The hockey world is buzzing about the Winnipeg Jets and their continued growth the past several seasons. Even so, the Hockey News is sticking to their prediction from the Future Watch 2015 issue, where they tout the Jets to be the 2019 Stanley Cup champions. Can the Jets live up to these expectations? Also, how will the Jets handle the adversity? With how close the Jets were to the Stanley Cup Finals this past postseason, they cannot sit back and be content with how they are currently, kind of like how it was with Nashville going into the playoffs last season. They're going to have to push back all the adversity that will be put before them this season and continue to play hard. The Jets are clearly one of the best teams in the West, and they need to continue playing that way to be the best team in the Western Conference. Ooh. And ladies and gentlemen, that right there is our entire Western Conference preview. All that. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, and actually this is perfect. I thought this was going to go an hour and a half because of the thing with Aryan and I. This actually worked out beautifully. Three beautiful segments, albeit technical issues galore. But thank you for coming back to watching TXHT. This is Serious Hockey Talk for Serious Hockey fans. We now have a website, TXHThockey.com. Go there. We're going to be posting articles almost every day, as much as we can. We have, obviously, our St. Louis Blues writer in Aryan. Our good friend Russell from Forever Blue Shirts is going to be writing Rangers for us from time to time. We got our new kid, Armand, who will be covering the Montreal Canadiens. You'll be seeing Russell and Armand on the show next week. And then, of course, you got Dixon and I doing all the cap stuff. We're going to be doing live game update. We're going to have like that live game blog that you see some sites doing. We're going to have that. We're going to have a preview. We're going to have a post-game thing. Obviously, when breaking news happens, we're going to have stuff put out there. Obviously, yesterday was the big thing with Steve Yzerman stepping down as the general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I will be addressing that on next week's episode, since we'll be talking about both Tampa Bay and Detroit. So, anyway. So yeah, TXHThockey.com. That is the official website of the show. Officially, it's awesome. We still do have the Patreon page at patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. You love what we do here on the show and you want to support us, hop on the Patreon. We will gladly accept any contributions to help improve the show. If it wasn't for Patreon, we wouldn't have gotten this brand new camera that we have. We wouldn't have this beautiful live stream technology that we have now, that even though we did all the freaking testing in the world for it, all the testing, like we've been testing it with The Experience, my other show, we've been testing it with like other stuff, and all of a sudden it's just so. But we'll get it figured out. We got a week before the next episode. And, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TXHThockey. Follow us on Twitter at TXHT_hockey. And, of course, please go to the website, TXHThockey.com. We're going to do our best with that website is a daily job. I just posted I just scheduled the Eastern Conference previews starting tomorrow. I got the first 3 up for tomorrow, and then we're gonna have 2 a day leading up to our next episode next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live here on both Facebook Live and Twitch. I like how staring at both screens and it's like something doesn't look right here. But anyways, that's just how things are. But thanks for watching. TXHThockey.com. Can't say it enough. Going to be saying it a whole lot. So go to the website, please. This episode will be up on the website soon, just like our entire 3-season archive. So yeah. But yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be previewing the Eastern Conference minus the Washington Capitals. They will be the following week, and then the following week after that, which we will actually be bumping the show up 1 day to Tuesday, October 2nd, because of the home opener for the Washington Capitals being on October 3rd, which is a Wednesday. We will be doing pre-game preview day before the season starts for the Capitals, and we'll also be doing our National Women's Hockey League preview as well. Still going to be promoting the women's game. Only one in this area that's going to keep on doing it and keep on doing it with pride. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, and have a good night, everybody.